So next to me there's Tristan Ferne. He's executive producer for the BBC Research and Development, and through the last month, through last year, you made some prototypes for the best user experience regarding the consumption of news. Yeah? So can you tell me a little bit more about these prototypes?
So we wanted to invent new story formats for news, and particularly for young audiences. That's a hard to reach sector for the BBC. We don't reach them as much, and so we wanted to develop new things for them, and we did that by prototyping lots and lots of different kind of formats and see how they worked, and then testing those with that audience. So every couple of weeks we'd invite some into our office and we'd talk to them about their news consumption, and we'd give them some prototypes that we'd developed in that couple of weeks, and we'd see how they used them and whether they worked for them or not.
Sounds a little bit like a design thinking process.
That's right, completely. So it was like lots of design sprints.
Okay, cool. And so when we talk about different user behavior, so in the ancient years of television, we had landscape format. Now we have portrait mode, we have square mode, we have ideas like scrolly telling, so reading a lot by scrolling down and being deeply involved into the story. So what did you find out?
So we found that they really did want to get the news. Like they were interested.
That's good.
But they don't have much time.
Okay.
And they're doing all sorts of other things on their phones. Their phones are what they use for news online. They tend to kind of skim through the news to see what's going on, but then there'll always be something that person is interested in, and then they'll dig down into that. So a number of the things we developed were designed for that behaviour of skimming and digging. They tended to prefer text over video. Like the majority of them found that easier and quicker to consume. There's some stories where video is the best way to show it, but in general, this audience that we talked to wanted text and pictures.
Because it's easier to skim, or?
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, totally. And yeah, easier to skim through it, and just works better for them in their habits and their devices. Yeah.
You have a phone with you, and maybe there's some prototype you can just showcase to us.
Yeah, sure.
So what do we have here?
So this one we called Perspectives. And so this audience told us that they wanted to see multiple sides to stories, so not just like the journalist's view, like what are the different sides to it. So it's an article about knife crime, but down the bottom we've got kind of different perspectives from different people involved in the story. So there's a video from a victim of knife crime, there's a video of a gang member's perspective on why they carry knives, there's audio clips from a police chief kind of making a statement about knife crime. And you can kind of select which of those you want or read the article, all in one format. And that was the best performing one of all our prototypes.
Cool. How easy is it to develop these prototypes? So you told me about the design thinking process, so a lot of interviews and design thinking sprints in between. So, but I think it's quite hard to invent great journalism just based on data, because every story is different. Every news, every article has a different layout, different mood. So is it really easy or hard to define that best working template? Because as I see social networks so far, or platforms like YouTube or Facebook, they work all the same for all kind of story.
Right. So I mean, that was what we were trying to do, was try to develop some things which worked well for news. So rather than just putting news on the social media platform, what does news want and what does a news audience want? So whenever we were making prototypes, we were evaluating them by how well does it work for the user, but also is it good for the journalist? Like, is it easy to write and create for? Does it work across different kinds of stories and different genres? And I guess the other aspect of it was I was fortunate to be able to create a team for the project, and that team was me, kind of the project lead, a journalist, so I had a full-time journalist for a year, a designer and a web developer.
How can you scale something like that? So if you look into publishing houses and other TV stations, they have this generic content management systems where they just throw everything in and hope that the website looks great. This is totally incompatible with what you told me just.
Well, this was our process for developing new ideas. So from these, we've got kind of a handful which performed really well. So next we would look at, can we pilot these at scale and see how those actually work in the wild? And also journalists will then get to use them over and over again for a bit. And then we got a challenge of how to make it kind of real and live and every day. And And fortunately, the BBC is currently kind of developing a new content management system for its news.
On its own?
On its own, yeah, bespoke. And that is designed to be very, very modular. And so you can plug bits in, and it could, in principle, support any kind of format.
And is there any collaboration with other television stations or publishing houses in the market, or is it just the BBC internally inside, like a black box, or is it important for the BBC to say, okay, no, we are the BBC. This should be done in our quality, in the way we want to do it?
For this particular project around kind of prototyping and stuff, we've been very open about it and kind of talking at conferences like this. We published on the web so that our ideas are out there and people can see what we've learned.
Okay.
That's part of our role.
Perfect. Thank you. Tristan Ferne here at the MEDIENTAGE München, MEDIENTAGE Munich. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.